Hi everyone. Why do I and our most advanced subscribers of our channel believe that genocide is taking place on the territory of modern Ukraine? I will simply read you the UN Genocide Convention. By the way, during this period, uh, but why only during this period of the 1940s, but now the permanent representative of the UN is the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union of the dictatorship of the proletariat, which compromised with the world bourgeoisie and its rights. As a result, we have such a document that shows what genocide is. And if you study it carefully, it turns out that genocide is taking place not only in Ukraine, but also in many other places. I will be in the image of a representative of the Soviet Union of the dictatorship of workers. I have the right to do so. Let's get ready. The Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, 1948. About the Genocide Convention. What is the Genocide Convention? The Convention of the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Genocide Convention, is an instrument of international law that codified from the first time the crime of genocide. Date of adoption 9 December 1948. Date of entry into force 12 January 1951. Number of states party 150 states. As of January 2019. Its preamble recognizes that at all periods of history, genocide has inflicted great losses of humanity, and that international cooperation is required to liberate humankind from such an odious scourge. According to the convention, genocide is a crime that can take place both in time of war as well as in time of peace. The definition continued in Article 2 of the Convention describes genocide as a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, in whole or in a part. It does not include political groups or so-called cultural genocide. This definition was the result of negotiation process and reflects the compromise reached among United Nations member states while drafting the convention in 1948. Importantly, the convention establishes a duty on state parties to take measures to prevent and to punish the crime of genocide, including by enacting relevant legislation and punishing perpetrators, whether they are constitutionally responsible rules, public officials, or private individuals. Article 4. Why is the Genocide Convention important? The adoption of the Genocide Convention marked a crucial step towards the development of international human rights and international criminal law as we know it today. It was the first human rights treaty to be adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations and signified the international community's commitment to never again, after the atrocities committed during the Second World War. The definition of the crime of genocide, as set out in the convention, has been widely adopted at both national and international levels. For example, the verbatim definition has been included in the statute of several international and hybrid tribunals, such as in the respective statutes of the International Criminal Tribunals for the former Yugoslavia and for Rwanda and the extraordinary chambers in Cambodia. The same definition was also included in the 1998 Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, ICC, making genocide one of the international crimes over which the ICC has jurisdiction. In fact, already in 1948, the Genocide Convention has predicted the establishment of such an institution by determining that accountability for genocide was the jurisdictions not only of the state in whose territory the crime was committed, but also of an international penal tribunal, as may have jurisdiction with respect to those contracting parties which shall have accepted in jurisdiction. Article 6. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, according to Article 9 of the Genocide Convention, the International Court of Justice is the organ responsible for addressing disputes related to the interpretation, application, or fulfillment of the Genocide Convention. The International Court of Justice has repeatedly stated that the Convention embodies principles that are part of general customary international law. Among those are the prohibition of genocide, as well as the obligation to prevent and punish genocide. As customary international law, such obligations are binding on all states, whether or not they have ratified the Genocide Convention. The ICJ has also concluded that the obligation to prevent genocide contained in Article 1 of the Genocide Convention has an extraterritorial scope. As such, states that have the capacity to influence others have a duty to employ all means responsibly available to them to prevent genocide, including in relation to acts committed outside their own borders. A call for universal ratification. The Genocide Convention has been ratified or accepted by 150 states. The Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide calls upon all member states that are not yet party to the Genocide Convention to ratify or accede to it as a matter of priority, so that the Genocide Convention becomes an instrument of universal membership. Why ratify the Genocide Convention? The drafting of the Genocide Convention represented the international community's pledge to work together to prevent and punish the crime of genocide. Ratifying the convention is an affirmation of this commitment. In addition, considering the impact that the commission of the crime of genocide has on victim society, nations, and on international peace and security overall. Ratifying the Genocide Convention demonstrates a commitment to the most fundamental principles of the United Nations. Ratifying and domesticating the Genocide Convention also provides the basis for action by states to prevent genocide. For example, it can prompt states to set up mechanisms at the national level to identify and address risk factors for genocide. History has shown time and again that genocide is a process, and that throughout this process there are warning signs that mark the road to genocide. The establishment of national legal and policy tools, as well as structures that can identify and addresses these early warning signs is the first step of prevention. Ratifying the Genocide Convention is also a moral obligation towards humanity. It represents a recognition of the responsibility of states towards their populations and shows respect for those who have perished as a result of this crime. Which states have not yet ratified or acceded to the Genocide Convention? The following 44 United Nations members have not yet ratified the Genocide Convention. As of January 2019, Americas, Dominica, Dominican Republic, sign it, sign it. Grenada, Guyana, Saint Lucia, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Suriname. Africa, Angola, Botswana, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, Djibouti, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Kenya, Madagascar, Mauritania, Mauritius, Niger, Sao Tome and Principe, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Sudan, Swaziland, Zambia. Asia, Bhutan, Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Japan, Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Federate States of Nauru, Oman, Palau, Qatar, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Tuvalu, Vanuatu. What can be done to support the call by member states? For states that are not party to the Genocide Convention, take steps to ratify or accede to it. For states that have ratified the convention, ensure that the provisions of the conventions are domesticated as part of national legislation and that relevant policies and structures are developed for its implementation. Encourage other member states at the United Nations through human rights mechanisms such as the Universal Periodic Review of the Human Rights Council, regional organizations, and other intergovernmental cooperation to ratify the convention by civil society. Raise awareness and disseminate information about the call for universal ratification, the Genocide Convention, and the importance of its ratification. Advocate with the state at the national, regional, and international level to take steps to ratify the convention. Advocate with states that have ratified the convention to domesticate and implement it, including through developing mechanisms and structures for the prevention of genocide. Use relevant human rights mechanism, such as the Universal Periodic Review mechanism, to encourage states to ratify the convention and to develop policies and structures to prevent genocide. Key facts about the Genocide Convention. Definition of genocide in the Convention. The current definition of the genocide is set out in Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. Genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in a part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A. Killing members of the group. B. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in the whole or in a part. D. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. E. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. That was the definition of the genocide in the convention. For my personal opinion, point B and D, these two topics, related to such ideologies like LGBT, transgender people, and other diversion away from not continuing a person by person. It's only my opinion for these points. Let's continue. The specific intent requirement of the crime of genocide. The definition of genocide is made up of two elements: the physical element, the acts committed, and the mental element, the intent. Intent is the most difficult element to determine. To constitute genocide, there must be a proven intent on the part of perpetrators to physically destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. Cultural destruction does not suffice, nor does an intention to simply disperse a group. Who this may constitute a crime against humanity as set out in the Rome Statute. It is this special intent or dolus specialis that makes the crime of genocide so unique. To constitute genocide is also needs to be established that the victims are deliberately targeted, not randomly, because of their real or perceived membership of one of the four groups protected under the convention. This means that the target of destruction must be the group as such or even a part of it, but not its members as individuals. States obligations under the Genocide Convention. Obligation not to commit genocide, Article 1st, as interpreted by the ICG. Application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Bosnia and Herzegovina v. Serbia and Montenegro. Judgment ICG reports 2007. Okay, next. Obligation to prevent genocide, Article 1, which according to the ICJ has an extraterritorial scope. Obligation to punish genocide, Article 1st. Obligation to enact the necessary legislation to give effect to the provisions of the Convention, Article 5. Obligation to ensure that effective penalties are provided for persons found guilty of criminal conduct according to the Convention, Article 5. Obligation to try a person charged with genocide in a competent tribunal of the state in the territory of which the act was committed, or by an international penal tribunal with accepted jurisdiction, Article 6. Obligation to grant extradition when genocide charges are involved, in accordance with laws and treaties in force, Article 7, particularly related to protection granted by international human rights law prohibiting refoulement where there is a real risk of flagrant human rights violation in the receiving state. For more information about Genocide Convention, please contact osapg.one.org. Okay, so I hope the information provided without additional comments explained to you why there is genocide. We can see some kind of genocide, yeah, in Ukraine. All these 5 things are here, for my opinion. I see them. I can live, not only I, but a lot of young men and women can live safely here. And not safely only in Ukraine, but on the whole, almost on the whole second meridian, and not only on the second meridian. The big class struggle, capital against labor, is just becoming more and more stronger. Thank you for your attention.